Canada legalized cannabis, and here's what you need to know. Is it all sunshine and rainbows? What's in the news with stories on Apple security, government waste, death penalty exoneration, death penalty struck down, building permits, and freedom of religion. Finally, and yet another bad cop on two really bad cops. This episode is brought to you by ZenCash, now known as Horizen, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right. Also brought to you by SmartCash, an easy-to-use, fast, and secure cryptocurrency that supports everyday use for everyday transactions.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state where it's illegal to shoot animals chased up a tree by a dog that's not from your hunting party, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at The Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 109, Canada Cannabis, and it's Tuesday, October 30th, 2018, when there have already been more than 798 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at more than $21,677,230 million in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. Canada legalized cannabis across the board. So let me give you the skinny. What does the law allow for? Well, adults are allowed to buy, use, possess, and grow recreational marijuana under the law. In Quebec and Alberta, the legal age is 18. It's 19 in the remainder of the country. Marijuana will not be sold in the same location as alcohol or tobacco. I don't know what that's all about, but that's ridiculous. Consumers are expected to purchase the drug from retailers regulated by provinces and territories or from federally licensed producers when those options are not available. You're also not allowed to travel outside of Canada with the cannabis you purchase, even if you're going to a location where it's been legalized. Canada is now only the second country in the world and the first G7 nation to allow a nationwide marijuana market. In December 2013, Uruguay was the first country to legalize the production, sale, and consumption of marijuana. And there's even better news related to this. Canadians who have a past cannabis conviction will not have to pay or wait to apply for a pardon for their crimes. Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale confirmed that the Liberal government will be introducing legislation to allow people who have served their sentences for pot possession to apply for a pardon without having to wait a specified period or pay a fine. Under the current laws, a Canadian applying for a pardon of a criminal conviction must pay $631. They also face waiting times of between 3 and 10 years after the completion of their sentence before they can apply for one, depending on their crime. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows in Canada because, frankly, the government is running this shit show. Toronto police shut down 5 cannabis shops in a coordinated raid just last week. Police spokesman Gary Long says the drug squad charged and released 8 people under the new provincial cannabis legalization. It is only legal to buy marijuana in Ontario from the province's online website, and Police Chief Mark Saunders vowed to shut down illegal dispensaries after marijuana became legal on Wednesday. Ontario will be issuing licenses to operate dispensaries, but that system won't be in place until April 1st of 2019, 6 months from now. So essentially, the only place in Ontario to buy legal cannabis right now is from the government itself. I wonder how that's going to go. Oh, wait, we already know. Marijuana users in Ontario have been frustrated with the delivery backlog at the Ontario Cannabis Store, OCS, since the drug was legalized. But it's the customer service that really has some customers fuming. OCS opened on October 17th, but 1 week later, many customers who purchased marijuana online still haven't received their orders. Many who've tried to contact the store say the phone number is out of service and their emails have gone unanswered. In the quote that won the internet that day, Alex Newcomb said, "This is above and beyond the worst dealer I've ever had." Newcomb said he spent 2 hours on hold waiting to find out why his order still hasn't been shipped. He said he's had better customer service experiences waiting in dark parking lots to buy drugs from a dealer. When CBC News called the 188 number on the store's website Tuesday, it took 2 hours before someone picked up. At other times, calls to the same number were met with an out-of-service message. All the customers who spoke to CBC News said unless the store cleans up its act, they will likely turn to other means of getting their cannabis, either through medical providers or illegal sources. Interestingly, though, while Canada is taxing this commodity, of course, the taxes are much lower than you'll find in any of the states in this country that have legalized cannabis. The national government is imposing an excise tax of only 10% or $1 per gram, whichever is greater, and giving the provinces 75% of the revenue. That's in addition to the standard sales taxes, which range from 5 to 15% depending on the province. Still, the effective tax rates are substantially lower than in jurisdictions such as California and Washington, where steep taxes have made it hard for licensed merchants to compete with illegal dealers. An industry analyst says that heavy taxes and burdensome regulation in California make legal marijuana 77% more expensive than marijuana sold by unlicensed dealers. 77%. That's insanity. Canada is also doing better on the purchase age. High purchase ages, like high taxes, help sustain the black market. In the U.S., all 9 states that have legalized recreational use have set the minimum age for possession or purchase at 21, corresponding to our drinking age. The upshot is that most college-age adults, 2/5 of whom use marijuana, cannot do so legally. Also, in both Canada and the U.S., local governments generally have the authority to ban marijuana businesses within their borders. But Canada gives consumers a reliable and discreet way around local bans by letting them buy marijuana online and have it delivered by mail throughout the country. In the U.S., most states with legal pot do not allow direct deliveries to consumers, and the continuing federal ban makes sending marijuana by mail, UPS, or FedEx a risky proposition. So, as with any new government program, this one has some good and some bad. However, I still applaud this decision. Not because I want government dictating and running a cannabis cartel or because I want to see it taxed, but because people who have no business being in jail for committing a nonviolent crime will be released, and there will be many fewer people entering prison because they smoked a plant. Ideally, cannabis would be regulated, as Daryl W. Perry says, like tomatoes. With tomatoes, there's no limit on how many you can purchase or own at any given time. There's no additional tax for owning tomatoes over anything else. In fact, in many states, there's no tax on tomatoes at all since it's a food, and you can grow as much of them in your own backyard as you want. To hell with regulate cannabis like wine. Regulate cannabis like tomatoes. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In security news, Apple has managed to prevent the hottest iPhone hacking company in the world from doing its thing. Atlanta-based Grayshift promised governments its Gray Key tech could crack the passcodes of the latest iOS models right up to the iPhone X. From then on, Apple continued to invest in security in earnest, continually putting up barriers for Grayshift to jump over. Grayshift continued to grow, however, securing contracts with immigration and customs enforcement, and even the Secret Service. Now, though, Apple has put up what may be an insurmountable wall. Multiple sources familiar with the Gray Key tech tell Forbes the device can no longer break the passcodes of any iPhone running iOS 12 or above. On those devices, Gray Key can only do what's called a partial extraction, sources from the forensic community said. That means police that are using the tool can only draw out unencrypted files and some metadata, such as file sizes and folder structures. Previously, Gray Key used brute-forcing techniques to guess passcodes that had found a way to get around Apple's protection preventing such repeated guesses. But no more. And if it's impossible for Gray Key, which counts an ex-Apple security engineer among its founders, it's a safe assumption that few can break iPhone passwords. Police officer John Sherwin of the Rochester Police Department in Minnesota said of the claim iOS 12 was preventing Gray Key from unlocking iPhones, that's a fairly accurate assessment as to what we've experienced. Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, says, companies should recognize that data belongs to users. Everyone has a right to the security of their data. Security is at the heart of all data privacy and privacy rights. This is incredible news for personal privacy and security. Apple is paving the way for this lately, and it is a huge surprise every time they do it. Android by Google, the company that once had the motto of do no evil, is no longer even appearing to try, sadly. But make sure you take full advantage of this security by not using fingerprint logins and setting your passcode to alphanumeric and at least 9 characters. I know, that sounds like a pain in the ass, and trust me, it is a bit, but it is worth the peace of mind. In government waste news, the Air Force, under fire for throwing down $1,280 apiece to replace in-flight reheating coffee cups after their handles break, is pledging to use 3D printing to get that replacement cost down to 50 cents. The cups, which plug into outlets on cargo planes to reheat liquids, such as water or coffee, have a faulty plastic handle that easily breaks when the cups are dropped. And because replacement parts for the cup are no longer made, the Air Force has had to order a whole new cup when the handles break. In an October 2nd letter to Air Force Secretary Heather Wilson, Senator Chuck Grassley said that 25 replacement cups, each costing roughly $1,280 each, have been bought this year alone, for a total of roughly $32,000 for 25 cups. The 60th Aerial Port Squadron at Travis Air Force Base in California spent nearly $56,000 to replace broken cups over the past 3 years. And the price is rising. Grassley noted that Travis said each cup cost taxpayers $693 just in 2016. Grassley said, paying nearly $700 for a single cup is bad enough, but it's simply beyond reason to continue to pay ever-increasing prices for something as simple as a coffee cup that is so fragile that it needs to be constantly replaced. This latest example of reckless spending of taxpayer dollars gives me no confidence that the Air Force is taking real steps to reduce wasteful spending practices. Wilson said that in July she ordered a new Air Force Rapid Sustainment Office to be created to find ways to develop and deliver parts at a fraction of the cost of traditional manufacturing methods. This office has recently shown it can 3D print replacement handles for the reheating cup for about 50 cents apiece. Wilson told Grassley that this cup is specially manufactured to plug into aircraft systems, and because it connects to the aircraft, the replacements need to be certified as airworthy by the FAA. Did you catch that? Because of ridiculous, overburdensome Federal Aviation Administration regulations, the fucking coffee cups have to be certified as airworthy. What the actual fuck? An airworthy coffee cup? Insanity. Some contractor is using federal regulation to soak the taxpayer, and he's laughing all the way to the fucking bank. ZenCash has changed their name to Horizen to better represent their transition from a pure cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're focusing more on the wider vision of what ZenCash was all about. The new name, Horizen, reinforces that the project is forward-thinking and visionary and will broaden the horizons of what the community can accomplish in the world using the platform. Not only is it one of the best privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies with zero-knowledge technology built into it, but they also have private chat over their network. And soon, Horizen will include the ability to publish information and go anywhere on the web, all with complete privacy. They are working toward the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizen platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizen to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. The unique spelling of Horizen is a nod to their heritage and recognizes that they remain committed to the vision that their project was built upon. Their coin and ticker symbol remains Zen. So ZenCash is now Horizen, and Horizen is bringing privacy to life. You can learn more at horizen.global. That's HORIZEN.global. In exoneration news, DNA evidence exonerates a man who spent 19 years in prison for the death of his lover. The California Innocence Project helped free Horace Roberts from prison. In April 1998, Terry Cheek's strangled body was found near Corona Lake in California's Temescal Valley. Cheek left behind a husband, 2 children, and Horace Roberts, her extramarital lover and coworker. Riverside County prosecutors said a watch belonging to Roberts was found near her body. It was largely on this piece of evidence alone that prosecutors sent Roberts away to prison for second-degree murder in 1999. Now, nearly 20 years later, the 60-year-old is the latest American to show that it is still possible to spend decades in prison, despite being innocent of a crime. The California Innocence Project, CIP, which shared Roberts' story, requested DNA testing on the watch, the victim's fingernails, and the rope that was used in her death. While no DNA was found on the rope, there was a hit on the watch and the victim's fingernails. Neither belonged to Roberts. The DNA evidence matched Joaquin LaFell Lee, the nephew of Cheek's husband, Googie Renee Harris Sr. Googie, really? Wow. Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestron said that the new DNA evidence led him to dismiss the charges against Roberts and arrest Harris and Leal in connection with Cheek's murder on October 12th. As for the watch, CIP's Justin Brooks speculated that the men were attempting to set Roberts up. Roberts' conviction was reversed, and he was released from prison on October the 3rd. He has since reunited with family in South Carolina. 19 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Now, while this wasn't specifically a death row case, it still makes you wonder how many innocent people have been put to death by the state in your name. For a long time, I was a proponent of the death penalty until I realized it was nearly impossible that the government hasn't killed an innocent person. Once I had that realization, it made me sick. Kudos to the California Innocent Project and the Innocent Project as a whole. And speaking of death penalty news, the Washington Supreme Court unanimously struck down the death penalty last week, ruling that it is imposed in an arbitrary and racially biased manner. In doing so, Washington becomes the 20th state to end capital punishment. The ruling commuted the sentences of 8 men currently on death row to life in prison. The ruling states, the death penalty, as administered in our state, fails to serve any legitimate penological goal. It's the 3rd time the court has declared the state's death penalty laws unconstitutional, the prior rulings taking place in 1972 and 1979. None of those, including last week's decision, hold capital punishment as inherently unconstitutional, though. The court left open the option that the state legislature could enact a statute for capital punishment, as long as it doesn't create a system that offends constitutional rights. The ruling heavily weighed on a study completed by University of Washington researchers. That study examined the role of race in convictions between 1981 and 2014, finding that jurors in aggravated murder cases are more than 5 times likely to impose a death sentence if the defendant is black. The death penalty is also unequally applied according to where and when the crimes took place, and the available budgetary resources at the time it found. The finding came from the case of Alan Eugene Gregory, a black man convicted of raping, robbing, and killing a woman named Janine Harshfield in 1996. 15 states have abandoned the death penalty through court order or legislative act in the last 15 years. Washington has not executed anyone since 2010, and in 2014, Washington Governor Jay Inslee, a one-time supporter of capital punishment, imposed a moratorium on the death penalty. He said last week in a news conference that he would veto any bill that would reinstate the death penalty. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson, who introduced legislation in 2017 to abolish the death penalty, says in a statement he will try again to remove capital punishment from state law, once and for all. That legislation was stopped in the State House. Ferguson said, "Next session I will again propose legislation repealing the death penalty, replacing it with life in prison without the possibility of parole." I sure hope the legislature can pull this off in Washington state. Our legislature here in New Hampshire tried this, and it passed both houses to end the death penalty last year. However, Republican Governor Chris Sununu vetoed the bill, and an override attempt was defeated. Thankfully, though, at least, no one has been put to death by the state of New Hampshire since 1939. SmartCash is an easy-to-use, fast, and secure cryptocurrency that supports everyday use for everyday transactions. SmartCash is focused on getting the currency back into cryptocurrency, and their vision is to replace centralized fiat currencies in day-to-day life. Too many cryptos talk about being used as a currency, but they are all focused on something else and leave user experience for both merchant and customer by the wayside. SmartCash is focused on being used for business payments and POS through such features like their Instant Pay, which allows for trusted transactions in a second, powered and secured by their 20,000 user-run smart nodes. SmartCash also has a Smart Hive proposal system that is funded by the blockchain, where any user can put forth a project proposal to expand the community, ecosystem, or technology. Holding one smart equals one vote, so all users can participate in voting without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to run a full node. The people working on SmartCash are broken up into 6 different Smart Hive structuring teams with dedicated team members that are completely funded by the blockchain. There is no CEO, no foundation, no centralized leadership, and there is no need for outside investors to come in and compromise any deals. Check out SmartCash today at thelavaflow.com/smart to find out how they are putting the cash into SmartCash and the currency into cryptocurrency. I believe this is truly a ground floor opportunity to get in on a rising tide. Get a wallet and find an exchange to purchase SmartCash at thelavaflow.com/smart. In government permission news, the Sagrada Familia Basilica in Barcelona, one of Spain's most famous tourist sites, has agreed to pay $41 million to city authorities after going without a building permit for more than 130 years. The spectacular church, designed by architect Antoni Gaudí, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and still under construction. Work began on the building in 1882. Barcelona's mayor said the deal was a historic agreement. Of course he did. It's a hell of a deal for the mayor. The basilica will pay the money over 10 years to improve public transport and access to the monument and assist the local neighborhood. In return, its status should be regularized early next week, Mayor Ada Colau said. So who actually owns this basilica? Do the people who hold the title to it actually think they own it? Because if they did, they wouldn't have to ask government permission to do something with it. The same is true of your house if you pay property taxes. I don't own my property, the government does. And they try to tell you what you can and can't do with the property that you supposedly own. In freedom of religion news, 2 Christian filmmakers appeared before the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Paul Tuesday to challenge Minnesota state law, which they say illegally forces them to produce and create films expressing messages that contradict their core beliefs. Telescope Media Group owners Carl and Angel Larson have already been threatened with hefty fines and up to 90 days in jail if they choose to disregard this law. The Larsons want to enter the wedding industry. However, the state's Human Rights Act stipulates if the couple creates films celebrating their Christian beliefs about marriage, that marriage is between one man and one woman, they must also create films about marriage that violate their beliefs, including films promoting same-sex marriages. According to Alliance Defending Freedom, the ADF, Minnesota officials have repeatedly stated that private businesses such as the Larsons violate the law if they decline to create films promoting same-sex weddings. Penalties for violation include payment of a civil penalty to the state, triple compensatory damages, punitive damages of up to $25,000, a criminal penalty of up to $1,000, and even up to 90 days in jail. ADF Senior Counsel Jeremy Tedesco said in a press statement, "The government shouldn't threaten filmmakers with fines and jail time to force them to create films that violate their beliefs. Carl and Angel are storytellers. They script, stage, conduct interviews, capture footage, select music, edit, and more, all to tell compelling stories through film that promote their religious beliefs." The U.S. Supreme Court ruled 7-2 in Masterpiece that the government must respect the belief, held by countless Americans from all walks of life, that marriage is between one man and one woman. The Eighth Circuit should reinstate the Larsons lawsuit and order the state to stop forcing the Larsons to speak messages about marriage that violate their beliefs. In 2017, the Larsons tried to challenge the law as unconstitutional, but a lower court dismissed their case and mandated that they service same-sex weddings or close this part of their business. They are now appealing it to the Eighth Circuit Court. Forcing filmmakers to make a certain type of film that goes against their beliefs is just fucking disgusting. While I vehemently disagree with the position of this couple, I would fight tooth and nail to defend their right to hold that position and to reflect that position in their art. In some personal news, 2 of the 7 shows on the Pax Libertas Productions network of podcasts were voted by a panel to be selected in the top 30 libertarian podcasts you must subscribe and listen to in 2018 list. The site says, the best libertarian podcasts from thousands of libertarian podcasts on the web using search and social metrics. Subscribe to these websites because they are actively working to educate, inspire, and empower their readers with frequent updates and high-quality information. These podcasts are ranked based on the following criteria: Google reputation and Google search ranking, influence and popularity on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media sites, quality and consistency of posts, FeedSpot's editorial team, and expert review. The 2 shows that made the list were The Lava Flow and Essential Libertarianism. Holy smokes, guys, this is awesome. Thank you to all of my awesome listeners, followers, subscribers, and everybody else for helping to make this happen. I really appreciate it. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
Are those dry, boring, run-of-the-mill political talk shows putting you to sleep on your commute or at work? Are you ready for some fun?
Look no further. Blast Off with Johnny Rocket is a Seattle-based podcast expressing viewpoints of free markets, voluntary exchange, badass music, wicked banner, and of course, drinking.
The Blast Off doesn't shy from the truth, but always brings the party.
Let's rock and roll, Raylene.
Bring it on, Johnny.
You can check us out at thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Again, that's thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Launchpad Media. Always launching ideas in your direction.
And now I'm crying over you.
This is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops. Come on. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens.
This time we have 2 bad cops, both of which happen to be in states that begin with a K. First, we have a Kentucky State Police trooper that pulled over David Gabbard near his home last year. Gabbard says he wrote a Facebook post sharing his anger at what he felt was an illegal stop. The Facebook post read, "I just love being pulled over for no reason, LMAO. Hashtag maybe next time, hashtag police harassment." James O'Toole, an attorney representing Gabbard, said, "Mr. Gabbard really didn't know why he was pulled over. He was a little frustrated for being stopped for what he thought was no reason. He went home, and as many people do, he posted on Facebook how he felt." The next day, Gabbard claims in a federal lawsuit, the trooper that pulled him over, Scott Townsley, and 2 other officers showed up at his Jackson County home that he shared with Diana Muncie, approaching from the front and the perimeter. O'Toole said the 2 other troopers passed by a window at the back of the house and saw Muncie inside, who was in a state of undress. When Muncie screamed, the troopers told everyone in the house to come outside. When Gabbard went out to see why they were there, Muncie began recording on her phone. "I did not harass you yesterday," Townsley can be heard saying on the recording, according to the lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in London, Kentucky. "I don't care if anybody knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. That's the only thing. I knew what you meant." The lawsuit claims another trooper then took Muncie's phone and turned it off, and things escalated quickly, with Townsley slapping and pushing Gabbard, kicking his dog, and trying to incite a fight. Gabbard said he did not want to fight with police. O'Toole said, "Trooper Townsley then took off his badge, took off his gun, and said, 'Fight me as a man, as a regular citizen.' And Gabbard still refused to do that. Muncie called 911, but the dispatcher would not send help because the police were already present, according to the lawsuit. A transcript of the 911 call is included in the lawsuit. The 911 transcript says the supervisor of state police is taking care of this complaint. At that point, according to the suit, a trooper noticed video cameras at the front of the home and showed Townsley. The troopers then returned Muncie's phone and they left. O'Toole said the cameras on their house were not working at the time. But of course, cops are terrified of video because they have been exposed countless times by video doing this kind of shit. O'Toole says he does not believe all police officers are bad, but he described the 3 troopers involved in this case as 3 bad apples that did serious harm to his clients. Remember, boys and girls, the saying is, 1 bad apple spoils the whole bunch. I wonder what 3 bad apples does. According to the lawsuit, the only plausible explanation for the troopers' presence at the plaintiff's home was that the troopers wanted to deliver a message through intimidation, terror, and battery. Yep, that is definitely the tactic of our police state, for sure. Next up, a Kansas man who spent 23 years in prison for a double murder he didn't commit was targeted because his mother rebuffed a homicide detective's sexual advances and was convicted after a bogus police investigation, according to a lawsuit. McIntyre was 17 in 1994 when he was arrested in Kansas City in the deaths of 21-year-old Danielle Quinn and 34-year-old Donald Ewing. They were shot in broad daylight in a drug-infested neighborhood. McIntyre was sentenced to 2 life sentences in their deaths, but he was freed last year after the district attorney found he had been subject to a manifest injustice in the case. No physical evidence ever linked McIntyre to this crime, and he didn't know the victims at all. The suit blames his arrest on a dirty cop, identified as Roger Golubsky, who used the power of his badge to exploit vulnerable black women. Golubsky, who rose through the ranks to detective and captain before retiring, coerced Rosalie McIntyre into oral sex in a police station after a traffic stop in the late 1980s and harassed her so much when she rebuffed additional advances that she moved and changed her phone number. The double homicide investigation quickly focused on her son, even though he was taller and had shorter hair than the initial witness descriptions. The suit said the investigation involved no bona fide police work. Golubsky helped one witness find a new apartment in exchange for falsely identifying the teen and threatened to have her children taken away if she didn't testify, the suit says. The lawsuit says the real killer was a drug enforcer known as Monster, who's currently serving a 33-year sentence for murder and drug offenses. The suit says Golubsky also worked with drug kingpins to protect their interests in exchange for money or drugs, which he would then use to buy sex. The lawsuit, adding that the victims' families believe Lamonte McIntyre was innocent throughout, said whether to retaliate against Rose McIntyre for spurning his advances, to protect Monster's drug bosses from prosecution, to quickly close a double homicide, or all 3. Golubsky, his co-investigators, and his supervisors framed Lamonte McIntyre for the crimes. So here we have 2 cops who used their badges to intimidate, threaten, and in one of the cases take 23 years of a man's life because they don't like free people being free and acting free. Folks, these are not isolated cases. These are becoming more and more closer to the norm than anything, and it's disgusting. It's refreshing to see more and more of these cases receive the light of day in today's world. As long as there are bad cops, I will continue to bring you the worst of the worst on this show. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite retreat partner, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/109. I have a new supporter this week. Lee K became a $1 per episode supporter through Patreon. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lee, for that. It's much appreciated. So thanks to Lee and all of my awesome supporters, I am now at $301 per episode, or 60.2% of the way towards my next goal of $500 per episode. Thank you for all of your support, guys. Really, it means a lot. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I want to give it to you. So please add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting today. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. I also have a new Apple Podcasts review this week. Ugly74 said, refreshingly real news, and more. Roger gives an honest look at current events. His podcast is informative and understandably explicit. Understand that the state does terrible things to people, and strong language may be necessary when commenting on the actions of the state. So if you're listening to the show in your office or something, you may need headphones. Not safe for work. The life of an ANCAP can seem rather solitary at times. Roger's podcast is a weekly reminder that there are others out there who hate the state. He's knowledgeable and gives an honest opinion with segments like State is Gonna State. Seriously, do yourself a favor and listen to this guy. He isn't going to sugarcoat the news. Go back and listen to old shows. He is a deeply principled and ardent defender of liberty for all. Wow, Ugly, that is such an awesome review. Thank you so much for that. And if you, like Ugly, have a minute and you want to hear your review read right here on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.